Okay, so we're going to write some more code in your site. So we'll kind of go back and forth. So we're going to look at text. So learning HTML really just involves learning the list of elements like we talked about, or tags, and then learning how these elements or tags are used and what they do. So tags describe a content. Typically, making a page just involves adding tags to some content that we have. In your case, you're going to be adding tags or creating pages that are going to take us through an interactive fiction experience, which is going to be super fun. So right now, this is kind of unformatted. The tags are known as markup. There are two types of markup that we're going to be looking at today: structural markup and semantic markup. And the first one is structural, and we're looking at an example of this here. This is structural markup because it is going to tell us what the tag is and what it does. So this H1 is going to look a certain way because of the tag that's applied to it. So if you were to type H1, you would get a heading that is at a certain size, not necessarily the typeface, but you would get a level of hierarchy there. So you could actually build your hierarchy into your page just by using structural markup. So let's try it. Go ahead and go back to Dreamweaver, and we're going to add some tags. So right now we've got just simple stuff going on here. I've got these P tags, but I'm going to want to add an H1 tag. And note right here on line 11, when I type my opening tag, Dreamweaver wants to help you and it will type in the second tag for you. And so then I'm just going to type in the copy that I want to show. And then you'll see what that looks like there. Now I'm going to also type in an H6 because our headings go from large to small. So H1 is the biggest, H6 is the smallest. So you can use these to develop some hierarchy, right? And I didn't style this in any way. What we're looking at here is just the level of hierarchy that's built into Dreamweaver. You can even, if you're kind of get it conceptually, you can copy line 11 and paste and just change the number. So I'll go H3. Now see if my headings don't match, it gives me an error, does not like that. But if both of them match, then you should see my H3 heading pop up in there. So why don't you go ahead and try that. Add H1, H3, H6. You can add all 6 if you like, just to kind of see a sense of what these tags do in terms of hierarchy. So if you've ever been on Craigslist, that's kind of what we're going to be creating today, is a Craigslist looking page, because we're only using structural markup. Okay, so you can see the hierarchy and evidence there. So go ahead and add a couple of those and I'll keep going forward. Right, so this is the code, this is your visible result. Paragraphs. The P tag in our paragraphs give us a way to control body copy. So the P tag, some common things about it is that it will give you an extra line in between opening and closing P tags. So the P tag has built into its HTML code that it will give you an extra space. So if you want to chunk your paragraphs like this, you can do so. So this is the code and this is the visible result. So let's try that. We've got headings in here. I do have a couple of P tags up here on line 9 and 10. And you can actually see that I do have a space after those because of that P tag. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of sentences here. Okay, so if you add some content in there in your P tag, you should see that show up in your side view. I'm going to show you this, but this is not necessarily the best way to go about this, but it's kind of fun to do and gives you the idea that you can nest tags. So when we're looking at this code here, we have some tags that will allow us to change what your content looks like. So if we're looking specifically at the bold tag, then we have our italic tag. So I'm not going to have you do that because there's a better way, but you can see how nesting those tags can give you a different look for something and let you create additional hierarchy. These PowerPoints are on here. I'd love to have you go through some of these and check out some of these tags here. I think that doing that on your own would be appropriate because you can see the before and after. This one I'm going to have you go through though. Line breaks. So line breaks are not typically done for you. So in HTML, the white space does not show up. So if you were to type something like this, like that's on the current slide, we would not see those spaces. So you can type as many spaces as you want. Over here in Dreamweaver, let's say I was gonna type some space here after hello. I can do like a bunch of spaces here, but those spaces are not gonna show up. So even though I have spaces in my code, it does not show up. Even if I hit a return, everything just kind of runs together, right? You can see that this highlighted section of code corresponds to the highlighted visible content here. So white space is collapsed. You'll get this result just like I just showed. So the only way you can control line breaks and extra spaces is with tags. So this is our first example of a tag that is not enclosed with an opening and closing tag. So if you wanted to add line breaks, you could use the line break tag here and you would get a visible result that look like that. So the only way to get line breaks or extra spaces is by adding those in. So if I want to add a line break here, I can do that just with a simple BR tag. Now look what happened. My line 12 has been modified. I've added a line break in there, and then you can see the visible result. So try that, try adding a line break using the line break tag. This is the correct version of the line break tag. What's shown in the PowerPoint will work, but it's more correct to just use the BR. Going along with that, there's another tag that is not in this slide, but if you want to add some spaces, like here, I wanted to add some space, but I can't unless I have a tag. The non-breaking space tag, or yeah, tag, looks like this. And you can see that all the tags try and sort of be semantic. So you can remember it by non-breaking space, but it starts with an ampersand, has a little abbreviation acronym thing, and then a semicolon. So if I want to add a bunch of non-breaking spaces, now you're going to start to see spacing show up. So try and add a non-breaking space there as well. Same with horizontal rules. This tag here, HR, will give you a line, right, without even doing anything. Let's look at some better ways to do bold and italic. So this semantic markup, this is a set of elements that will provide some extra information about your content. And the reason that we suggest that you use semantic markup for bold and italic and things like that is for accessibility purposes, because screen readers will recognize elements that are using the strong and the emphasis tag, and it will act accordingly. So if someone is accessing your website through some other device other than a visual device, these tags will react with that. So it'll look very similar, will look the same as, you know, bold and italic, but your visible result will be looking like this. So it's an example of how you can nest tags and also provide additional accessibility. So those are a few tags that will allow you to be kind to your users. So if we try that over here in Dreamweaver, go ahead and just add the M tag. I'm working on line 16. And now you'll see my emphasis in there. And then I'll do strong. And then you'll see that visible result as well. Okay, so try that. So looking at the first slide, there are 3 different types of lists. And you can see examples of what those are, right? Ordered, unordered, and definition. Ordered lists will typically have an order to what you need to do. So you can think of it like a recipe, like this example shows you. You have to follow these instructions in order or it'll get messed up. So anything that needs a linear progression would be an ordered list. List 2, list that does not necessarily have a linear progression, but is just kind of a grouping of elements. So an unordered list, that might be like ingredients in a recipe, right? Definition list. This would be used if you have a term and a definition that goes with it. So right here, we're looking at, sashimi, which is the term, and the definition is listed below it. So all of these will have their format defined by the tags, which is pretty cool. So we're going to make an ordered list. So ordered list has a couple of different tags that go with it. First is OL, ordered list, and the second one is LI for list item. They all have a beginning and an ending tag, and the default on this list is that everything will be numbered, right? You can control if you want to be like letters or whatever, but for now we're just going to stick with numbering. Main criteria: opening ordered list tag, closing ordered list tag, and closes every list item. So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure that everything you're putting in as visual content is resting between these opening and closing body tags. All right, so line 20, I'm gonna do OL. It's gonna automatically put in my closing OL tag, which is nice, but you'll start to see ways that it's annoying. List item, so I'm gonna do a list of what I do in the morning. Get up. That's my first list item. So you should see over here on the side, I've got a number and I've got a list item. Now, if I were to remove this ordered list tag, this list item no longer has a number, right? So these tags definitely have a purpose and why you're putting them in there. All right, so ordered list has to enclose my list items. Next thing I do, all right, this is my typical morning. Okay, so now if I refresh that, kind of look over, you can see my unordered list or my ordered list here. It's got numbers that is in the criteria, right? So that's my ordered list.